and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When a man reaches out first, it's never by accident. It's not because he ran out of options or because he suddenly got lonely one night. No, because something about you spoke to his spirit louder than his ego could silence. When she glows in her peace, not her plea, everything changes. See, a woman who's at peace with herself carries a kind of power that can't be faked, can't be copied, be forced. It's that calm confidence, that quiet glow that says, I know who I am, and I'm not going to beg you to see it. A man feels that deep because men can sense energy faster than they process words. When you move from desperation to peace, your whole presence changes. You're not chasing his attention anymore without saying a word. You're not calling, texting, wondering, worrying. You're centered. You're focused. You're living like your joy doesn't depend on who shows up or who leaves. And that kind of energy, that's irresistible. See, a man can tell when a woman's peace ain't for sale, when she's no longer trying to prove her worth, but just living in it. He starts thinking about her differently. He remembers her laugh, her calm that way. She didn't argue to be understood. She just stopped explaining. When a woman reaches that point, when her glow comes from growth, not approval, she becomes unforgettable. It's not the clothes, not the makeup, not the pictures. It's that inner stillness that says, I'm good or without you. That's what gets him. Because he's used to noise. He's used to women trying to make him feel needed. But when she's over there, loving herself in peace, that silence was louder than any conversation. Peace is power. You walk different when you got it. Softer, but mean more. You move slower, but with purpose. And the moment you stop pleading for his effort, he starts noticing yours. Because now he's watching from a distance. He sees you smiling again. He sees you posting that you're doing fine. He sees the light back in your eyes, the one he dimmed when you kept waiting for him to see your value. Now that light is shining again. He starts wondering what changed. But deep down, he knows, fighting for a seat at a table you built yourself. You stop begging for love that should have been freely given. When a woman glows in her peace, it's like the world finally bends in her favor. Her blessings come easier. Her connections grow deeper. Even her silence has weight. And when a man sees that, oh, trust me, he starts thinking about how he lost that energy. He might not admit it out loud, but he feels it. Because peace hits different when you used to have access to it. That's when he reaches out. Not because he's changed, but because your peace reminded him of what he messed up. A woman at peace becomes a mirror that reflects what a man failed to protect. And that reflection That's powerful enough to pull him back. When her absence speaks louder than her words, that's when a man really starts to listen. You see, it ain't what a woman says that gets a man's attention. It's what she stops saying, when she goes quiet, when she stops explaining, when she stops defending herself. Silence hits him harder than any argument ever could. Because now there's no more back and forth, no more emotional tug of war. It's just her absence echoing in every corner of his thoughts. He starts noticing the space she used to fill. The good mornings that don't come anymore, ends that stopped, the comfort that disappeared. That's silence. It's not emptiness. It's power. A man can tune out your words when he thinks you'll always be there. He can shrug off the arguments, the tears, act like he doesn't care. But the moment you pull back, the moment you go quiet and redirect that energy toward yourself, he feels that shift. Men don't miss the noise. They miss the peace behind it. They miss the warmth you brought, the way your presence made things softer, the way your care wrapped around him, even when he didn't deserve it. When that's gone, suddenly the room feels colder. The days feel longer. Silence starts whispering truth in his ear. She's not coming back the same. That's the thing about absence. It forces reflection. It holds up a mirror to a man's choices. While you were talking, he was tuning out, but now that you're silent, he's forced to hear his own thoughts. And that's uncomfortable. Now he's remembering the way you used to look at him like he mattered. He's thinking about how you believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. And now he realizes that silence ain't punishment, it's protection. You're not ignoring him, you're guarding your peace. You're not playing games, you're reclaiming your power. And that right there, that's when the regret creeps in. He starts to scroll through old messages, replay old memories, pictures longer than he'll admit. Because now your absence feels like a presence. He can't escape. It's everywhere. It's in the songs he used to play, the routines that don't hit same, the jokes that fall flat without your laugh. And he starts asking himself, when did she stop caring? But the truth is, you didn't stop caring. You just started caring about yourself more. And that's the kind of energy a man can't replace. That's the kind of silence that makes him realize just how loud your love really was. When a woman's absence speaks louder than her words, that's when the game changes. That's when a man starts to understand what he took for granted. Because words can be ignored, silence demands attention. It's not cruel, it's clarity. When he feels that void where your peace used to be, that's when he finally gets the message. Not from what you said, but from what you stopped saying. When she's busy building, not waiting, that's when everything shifts. Feels that energy before she even says a word. You see, there's something powerful. A woman who's no longer sitting around hoping he'll get it together, checking her phone every hour. She's checking her goals. She's not replaying old conversations, planning new chapters. That shift from waiting to working changes her whole presence. It's not bitterness, it's balance. She's not mad at him. She's just invested in herself. And when a woman starts building instead of waiting, she becomes the kind of woman a man can't forget. He's not used to seeing that kind of focus mixed with that kind of peace. At first, he might think she's bluffing. He'll assume she'll come back around like she always did. He sees it. She's not playing this time. She's moving different. She's glowing in a way she didn't before. She's talking less, doing more. And now, power she used to give away so easily, she's keeping it for herself. A man notices that. He remembers obvious when she used to beg for his time, and now she's too busy creating her own lane. That's when something starts to stir in him. Because every man, deep down, pecks a woman who can build her life without using his name as a foundation. You see, waiting drains your spirit, but building fills it. When a woman chooses to build, she reclaims her joy, waking up with purpose. She starts walking taller. She realizes she doesn't need to chase love to feel whole. Her focus becomes her healing, her growth, her dreams. That's where her power lies. In her purpose. A man might scroll through social media and see her winning, laughing, glowing, and suddenly that old comfort he took for granted starts feeling like a loss. Because now he's seeing her shine in places he never supported her to reach. That's when reality hits him. While he was playing, she was preparing. Every man feels it when the woman he once had starts elevating, because she's no longer waiting for his validation. She's giving herself her own applause. She's no longer measuring her worth by how much attention she gets from him. She's measuring by how many doors she's open for herself. That independence, that focus, it's not arrogance. It's confidence built from pain, from lessons, from resilience. He starts to remember how she used to pour into him. He realizes that same energy turned inward is unstoppable. When she's busy building, not waiting, the prize. Because the moment she starts creating the life she deserves, she stops settling for the one she tolerated. And that's when he reaches out. Not because he's changed, because he sees what he lost. She stopped waiting for him to build with her. So she built without him. And that's the kind of strength no man ever forgets. When her energy feels like home, when a man reaches out without even knowing why, It's something he can't explain. It's not about looks, not about what she does for him. It's about how she makes him feel when he's around her. You see, a man can meet 1,000 women. Only one will give him that sense of peace that feels like breathing after holding it in too long. That's what feel like. It's not excitement or chaos, it's comfort. It's knowing you can drop your guard and still be respected. When a woman carries that kind of energy, doesn't have to chase anyone, her presence becomes a place he keeps coming back to in his mind. It's the way she listens without judging, the way she speaks life into him when he's at his lowest, the way she can make silence feel safe instead of awkward. A man might not realize it in the moment. Kind of connection hits his soul. It's rare. Most of the world drains him. People want something, expect something, demand something. But she gives peace. She's not trying to fix him. She's just present. She's not competing. She's complimenting, chasing him down, but somehow he feels seen when she's around. Right there sticks with him longer than any text, any gift, or any argument. Energy feels like home. Even distance can't erase it. He could go out, meet new people, laugh. But somewhere in his heart, he keeps comparing that feeling. He'll remember how her presence calmed his storms, how her laugh made the stress fade, patience made him feel safe. And then one night, out of nowhere, he'll think about her and realize no one else gave him that kind of peace. When his pride starts cracking, that's when the phone starts to feel heavy in his hand. Home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's a person who made you feel understood without saying a word. See, a woman's energy sets the tone for everything. When she operates from love, grace, and confidence, it creates an atmosphere no man can forget. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. Force connection. She flows with it. She doesn't need to prove her value. She embodies it. When she's gone, that absence feels bigger than he expected. Because you can replace attention, but you can't replace peace. A man learns that the hard way. He'll realize that what he had wasn't ordinary. It was rare, it was real, it was home. When her energy felt like home, it wasn't about possession. It was about connection. That's what makes him reach out, because every man eventually comes to understand peace is more addictive than passion. And once he's felt it, he'll search for it again. And it'll always lead him back to her. When he realizes no one matches her standards, that's the moment everything hits him. See, can walk away thinking he's got options, thinking he can find better. He can replace what he had until reality starts setting in. At first, it feels exciting. New faces, new attention, new energy. But then he starts to notice something missing. The conversations don't feel as deep, doesn't hit the same. The comfort isn't real. That's when he realizes it wasn't about her looks. It was about her level. Her standards were the thing made him rise higher even when he didn't see it. Now that she's gone, it ain't always obvious. He feels the absence of that structurage, that accountability. When you've been loved by a woman with standards, ordinary starts feeling empty. A woman with standards doesn't settle, and that alone makes her stand out. She's not impressed by potential. She wants purpose. She's not drawn to smooth talk. She values consistency. She doesn't just want promises. She wants proof. And when a man meets that kind of woman, he might not be ready for her, but he'll never forget her because she made him see what he could be, not just who he was. When she spoke, she made him think. When she loved, she made him grow. Kind of love leaves a mark. And once he steps out into the world, trying to find something easier, he realizes that easier never equals better. He'll meet people who flatter him, who make things feel light and temporary. There would always be that one voice in his head, reminding him of how she held him accountable, how she pushed him to handle his business, how she refused to let him stay stuck in his comfort zone. That's the thing about a woman with standards. She doesn't just love a man, she elevates him, trying to control him. She's trying to remind him of who he said he wanted to be. Once a man loses that kind of influence, the noise out there starts feeling hollow. Nobody's obvious because asking him to be better. They're just letting him be basic. He starts missing the woman who refused to let him settle for less than his potential. When he realizes no one matches her standards, that's when his pride starts melting. That's when regret starts creeping in. Now he sees the difference between a woman who entertains him and a woman who inspires him, between a woman who accepts excuses and one who expects effort. And deep down, he knows she wasn't asking for too much. She was just asking for the version of him that he pretended to be. The calls start coming, not because he's lonely, but because he finally understands what he lost. Standards were the mirror that showed him his best self. And once that reflection is gone, every other connection feels small. That's when he reaches out, not to win her back, to feel that standard again. When she stops trying to convince him, that's when everything turns around. See, as he's trying to prove her worth, he gets comfortable. He knows she's there. He knows she'll explain, forgive, and try again. But the day she gets tired of talking, the day she stops over-explaining, the day she looks at herself and says, "I'm done proving," that's the day the whole story changes. Because now, she's no longer trying to make him see what's right in front of him. She's walking in her truth, waiting for him to catch up to it. That silence, that peace, that shift in her energy, he feels that more than any speech she ever gave. When a woman stops trying to convince a man, she's telling him without words, you either see my value or you lose access to it. A man doesn't realize the weight of that until it's gone. He gets used to her effort, used to her reminders, her patience, her explaining how she feels. Her consistency is guaranteed. He mistakes her effort for weakness, not realizing that it takes strength to keep showing up for someone who doesn't meet you halfway. But when she finally stops, when she's done trying to get him to understand, that silence becomes deafening. Now we got to face the truth. She meant it when she said she was tired. She meant it when she said she deserved more. And this time, she's not bluffing. Calmness is the confirmation. When a woman stops convincing, her focus changes, putting all that energy back into herself. The same energy she used to pour into trying to be heard pours into healing. The same love she used to give freely, she now saves for her own peace. She starts looking at life differently, not through the lens of what she's missing, but through the gratitude of what she's learned. That's when her glow returns. That's when her voice gets softer, not because she's weak, but because she's sure. And that confidence, self-assurance, that quiet strength, that's what makes a man stop in his tracks. Because now she's no longer begging for a seat at his table. She's building her own. It's funny how the moment she stops trying, that's when he starts thinking. He starts remembering everything she showed up, every time she gave grace. But it's too late to argue now, because she's moved on emotionally. She's not bitter, she's just done. And that peace hits him like a reality check. When a man realizes the woman who used to fight for him no longer cares to explain herself, that's when he truly understands what he lost. It's not her love he misses. It's her effort. Her effort was proof of her heart. And once she stops trying to convince him, that's the moment he starts trying to convince himself that letting her go wasn't a mistake.